Welcome to the Love Overwhelming podcast, where we believe when people are supported, that hope is developed, and that hope guides people the next step in their recovery and life's journey. Thank you for being here with me today. I'm your host, Chuck Hendrickson. And the past several episodes, we've been talking with the Kelso Longview Ministerial Association, or the KLMA, in regards to their severe weather shelter program that they're operated in collaboration and partnership with Love Overwhelming. We've heard why the pastors from that organization wanted to step up and help. We've heard how working with the neighbors and working with the community, with the city and county and Health and Human Services, how those guided our policies, procedures. And one of the things that we wanted to highlight and share about, along with all of the other programmatic stuff that we did, and also the public outreach that we did as well, we also wanted to share with you some videos and some conversations that we've had with people who volunteered at the shelter. Without our volunteers, we would not be able to do what we do. We would not be able to serve the people that we serve in the way that we're able to be able to meet their basic immediate needs, build rapport and trust with those individuals, and then be able to go arm in arm, hand in hand with them into that recovery or into housing, into any needed recovery support service that they're requesting and needing. So without taking up any more time, I just want to get to my interview with one of our volunteers and someone who volunteers throughout the community, and she's going to share about those different opportunities and different things that she's involved with. But here is my conversation, my interview with Melinda McCready with Food for Change, and also a volunteer at the Severe Weather Shelter. Hope you enjoy. Thank you. Melinda, thank you for being here today. Excited to have a conversation with you about your involvement within the community, your volunteerism, and everything that you guys have going on. So I just want to take a couple minutes and just share who you are and maybe some of the places that you do volunteer at.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Chuck. I appreciate it. My name is Melinda McCready, and I retired a few years ago from the legislature. And since then, I've just been trying to get back into the community. I worked out of town for 20 years and wasn't able to do a whole lot locally during that time. So besides working with my grandchildren's school, a couple people that I really respect and admire have been working with feeding and otherwise helping the unhoused and the food insecure folks in our community. And I thought, hey, I can cook. I might not be able to do a lot of other things, but I can make meals, and I can serve people. And if hopefully somehow during that process we get people into a better place, that's a bonus. But yeah, the main thing is just to make sure people are kept from freezing to death and starving to death.
Mm-hmm. And can you tell me a couple of the places that you do volunteer at, and what services that they're offering right now?
Sure. I kind of started with fish at my church. And so, rounding up the food and then of course, distributing to folks that CAP sends our way every few weeks. And realize that those people that come for fish are food insecure, but they generally, for the most part, now we do have a few folks who aren't, but most of them have a place to cook food, prepare food. And when I kind of branched out from that to what used to be called Feed the Need, and we have changed the name since to Food for Change. And I have been very involved with that group, raising money and preparing meals, both at our regular meal share every Sunday, and we also prepare a meal for the community house once a month. So that's my main focus. I also volunteer for the severe weather shelter the last 3 winters. And then in that capacity also mostly focused on feeding. That's sort of where I find my niche. So cooking meals. But during the course of that, you sit with people, chat with people, and the shelter gives us an advantage of being able to actually sit down and visit. And that's what I really like about Food for Change also. Not now because we're in the COVID situation, but we have an indoor meal every week. And, you get to actually talk to people and the folks that we're serving, and see if there's other ways that we can help. And sometimes we can.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And as you know, I mean, people experiencing homelessness, the unhoused, it's a hot topic. It's been a hot topic nationally, and even in our community, it's been a hot topic for at least the last 4 to 5 years, it seems like now, going on. During that time, there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of things that go on. People stigmatization, you know, and of the marginalized populations that we serve, and people who may be struggling with in their recovery, and all of those things that go on with that, right? So my question for you is, within all of the national and community debates, what was your biggest fear in the beginning of coming and working with that population?
That's a good question. It's, I think a lot of it for me personally was just sort of really fear of the unknown. I mean, all I knew really, sadly, is what I did hear in the media or on, you know, I hate to say, but on Facebook groups, where a lot of the, I don't know how to say this best, but people who feel very strongly on each side congregate. So I guess my biggest fear was not knowing what I was walking into.
Yeah.
And my first night at the warming shelter, the severe weather shelter of about, well, three winters ago, luckily Sean Nyman was there. Well, actually, I guess it was a breakfast, and she sent me an emergency note. She's a friend of mine, Sean Nyman, said, "We need cereal and milk for breakfast. Can you get something for us on a short term?" And it's like, sure. So I trudged down there at 6:30 in the morning with a couple gallons of milk and some Cocoa Puffs, and not knowing what the heck I was doing, not where I was going, what I was going to see, you know, I mean, and so I would say fear might be a little bit of a strong word, but there was certainly some trepidation on my part. I kind of, like most people, kind of like to go into a situation where you feel like you have some control. And I didn't feel like that at all. But, you know, it was stupid. What did I do? I poured cereal in bowls and said good morning. You know, I mean, it was just silly. But I think there is, you know, I mean, there's some, I think in the community at large, some just mystery about what's going on. You know, you see them, you see the individuals as just unkempt and sort of wandering the streets aimlessly. You see the mess, if you will, that was caused by people camping in certain locations, and that's all you know. So I have to say I'm a little bit ashamed of the fact that I was rather concerned about what was I putting myself in any kind of danger? Was I going to catch some germs? You know, some silly crap like that. So yeah, I think it's normal.
What was the difference between what you was perceived from social media and just the media in general and Facebook and all of that that's going on compared to what you saw when you came in, maybe even that first morning bringing in milk and Cocoa Puffs?
Well, it was 180 degrees difference, right? I mean, the first thing the very immediate thing is they're people. And these are just people who are maybe through some fault of their own, maybe through not fault of their own, are in a bad situation. And when you know, the fact that I didn't know anything, I just talked to them, not know their names or anything, just good morning. Everyone's treated the same. It was an eye opener. They were so grateful. I mean, I think there's sort of a feeling that they just take. People were happy. They were hungry. They were happy that we were there. They were grateful that they were being fed, even though they knew they were going to be tossed out into the cold an hour later. They knew they were going to go with a full belly and a sandwich, you know, to take with. And so I think that was the biggest thing, and the spirit of the other volunteers too. I mean, I think there's a real feeling of we're here to not to judge, not to solve the problems of the world. We're here to provide a meal and a friendly face, and maybe possibly help for somebody who is willing and ready to take it.
Yeah. And since then, 3 years ago from that time, I know that you've been involved continuing on with the, severe weather shelter, helping out with meals and even cooking meals now for the people at the Alabama Street camp that are there. So
Yes.
during that time, what has changed? And I mean, has your mindset completely changed? Was there a paradigm shift within your thinking about the unhoused and people that are there? And was there, moving forward, obviously you're volunteering more, but was there more than that changed within you from doing that volunteer work?
Yes.
You're okay. Take your time. It can be really hard for people that don't understand and get to hear all the stories and all the heartache and heartbreak that we hear with shelter and all the stuff that's going on, and the compassion fatigue that not only staff but volunteers get because of that. And that's really hard, and I see that. So I'm
Yeah.
whenever you're ready.
Yeah, I apologize. I think that it's become kind of my mission. Not just to help the people there, but to hopefully make other people understand the importance of people who are able, people who have everything, more than everything, whether they know it or not, to share that with people who don't. Not only because they need the food or the sleeping bag or the tent, but because they need that human connection. They need to know that they are not alone. They're not outcasts. They're not trash. And I think too many people in this community, for sure, and probably in the world, feel like they are just disposable. Put them on a bus and ship them somewhere else. Put them on a bus and get rid of them. Put them in a fenced area and let them fight it out. I mean, you hear that, you read that. And the lack of humanity for humans has really affected me.
Yeah, that's it's very difficult when we work with those individuals, and they become more than just people that we're serving, for sure. We care about them. It's hard to hear community members and people that we care about, because they're in our community, talk bad about other community members and shame them and all of that. So I just appreciate that you're there and advocating and helping out. If there are people that are watching, or maybe you've already had this conversation with people, but if there are people that are on the fence of volunteering with different organizations and service providers that serve people who are unhoused, experiencing homelessness, the meal share groups, Radical Love, Food for Change, Bella Brigade, working at community house, you mentioned doing meals there, with Love Overwhelming, the severe weather shelter. If people were on the fence of working with and volunteering to directly serve that population, is there something that you would share with them and have for them that would help ease maybe those fears and stigmas going into volunteer and serve people?
Yes, I think so. I mean, I think that the number one thing I would say was don't jump into it alone. Go with someone that you already know and that's been involved in it, that can sort of lead by example a little bit. I think the first time that I know that having someone that I knew and trusted there with me the first time really did help me see that this is just no big deal. There's nothing to be frightened about. There's nothing. There's certainly, you take cautions that you would take with precautions with people that you don't know in any situation.
Yeah, those universal precautions should be taken anywhere. You never know.
Exactly.
At any point at a restaurant out in the community, anybody can have concerns, and especially with mental illness.
But I think that you want to try it, and don't expect miracles. Don't go into it thinking that you are going to change the world all by yourself, because you're just going to get your heart broken.
Yeah.
But if go just knowing that the little bit that you do is going to be appreciated. I think with Food for Change, I've brought several people with me when my company, when we have friends come from Chicago 2 summers ago, they stayed with us and they went with me 2 weeks in a row. And they still talk about what a great experience it was, how people, all that, you gave them their food and they just say, they're all thank you. And we really appreciate you being here and that sort of thing. They were just sort of, they come from Chicago, everything's a little bit scarier there, but but they've gone back now and since been involved a little bit more in their own community. I think that that everyone should try it. I've taken my daughter's very involved in it. Her older son is 11. I've been taking him for 2 years, off and on. People love to see your children there.
Yeah, I enjoy taking my kids to the severe weather shelter and
yes, I've seen them there.
And doing that. It's fun. It's good for them.
People like to see kids, and I think it's good for kids to see. Number one, that people in different circumstances are not necessarily scary, and that people see, and then that they appreciate a little bit more of the kind of lifestyle they have too.
Yeah,
kids do. So I think that's good. But I think everyone should try it. Everyone should do it once. Everyone can do it. It's not doesn't take a lot of special skills. I mean, even if you don't cook, we have people who come and just serve. Lots of younger folks who just come and serve the meals and get a lot of satisfaction out of just being able to help at that level.
Mm-hmm. And Melinda, if someone wanted to volunteer at Food for Change and they're inspired by this, they hear it, they're like, hey, how could me and my girlfriend or my partner or boyfriend or whoever, how can we get involved? What's the best way for people to get involved with Food for Change? Is that Facebook? Is there a website, phone number? What's the best way?
Facebook is the best way to reach us.
Okay.
Food for Change has a Facebook page, and we post our menu every week and what we could use from the community. And generally, those needs are met pretty well. They can always, always send money. We have to pay for people. Everything we do is volunteer. There's no paid staff or no anything like that. And all the food is donated. Generally speaking, everything we provide is donated, but we still have to buy. Right now we're doing everything in to-go boxes. So we have to buy the boxes and the silverware and the napkins and the thises and that's. And there are times when we just need to buy water or something that isn't provided by our volunteers. So we can always accept donations. We are not a nonprofit yet, so we don't provide a tax write-off, but every penny goes right back into the community. Right now, because of COVID, we're not able to take as many volunteers as we generally would. We're keeping it very sparse. So at this point, there's not a lot of opportunity for new folks to come and help us serve because we do have to keep the numbers.
Is there an opportunity if people wanted to donate food or even if they wanted to make something? Even during COVID, is that possible?
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Absolutely.
And Facebook is the best place for people to reach out to you guys to be able to do that. Correct?
Facebook is the best. Yes, okay. It is. And either the Food for Change Facebook page or my own Facebook page. I'm happy to. I coordinate the menus now, and so if anybody wants to donate a dish, I'm more than happy to accept it. And we often even pick them up if people don't feel like they're comfortable delivering for health reasons.
Yeah. For sure.
Otherwise, we do encourage people to come and drop off because then you can see what we're all about. And it's a little different right now, as I say, because of COVID. But you can see that the folks there are all just normal, regular people that are devoting their Sunday to feeding.
Wonderful. I'll put up. Make sure there's a link there to your guys' Facebook page, so people are interested. They want to donate some food, make some food up. They can. Again, I know you want to tell people where you guys host Food for Change, where it's out of and everything. I know there's a great partnership there that has been going on for a couple years now. Yeah,
right. Thank you for giving me that opportunity. We serve our meals at the Family Health Center building on 14th Avenue, the one that's right behind the YMCA, right across the 14th from the Y. And we've been there. Well, I'm not exactly sure how long they've been there. I've been involved for just a little over 2 years, and we've been there that whole time. Yeah. Almost always we are inside. So in the winter, it's very nice for people to be able to get in out of the weather for for a half an hour, 45 minutes. And right now we're not. We're inside, but people just come in, get their meal, and have to go back out because we can't let people sit and congregate. But ordinarily we would. The Family Health Center, Diane Cooper and their board have been just wonderful at helping us provide people with masks, providing them with information for health services. Part of the mission, and certainly isn't on the top of the list, and it's not like Love Overwhelming does, but if we have the opportunity to connect people with services, we always take that opportunity. We if somebody says, I really need X, we try to make sure that we get them in touch immediately with someone who can provide that for them. Sometimes you have to kind of strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah,
we also,
and knowing some of your guys' volunteers there, I know that they're right on top of that. I mean, even Luke and Mandy and with the church involvement they have, I mean, they're on top of it, getting around, wrapping around people and trying to get them to those services. And so it's amazing to hear that it's not just here's food, here's this, but it's so much more than that, and incredible things going on.
That's what we hope. And the best feeling in the world, and this has happened to me a couple of times at the shelter, at the warming shelter, the extreme weather shelter, but also at Food for Change, is when someone comes up to you and says, I just got a place, or oh, my funding just was approved, I got a job. I mean, that when somebody comes in and says I got a job, it's just like everybody stops and celebrates.
Yeah. I'm getting
so those are the moments that just make you really realize that it's you're not going to solve all the problems, but sometimes you win. And the number of people who said, I couldn't have made it through this winter without your help. I don't know if I would have lived. That's big stuff.
Yeah, and is there, we talked about Food for Change and where they're doing that. Now, we also know that you do food for the Alabama Street Camp. You're doing that about almost once a week here for almost 2 months now, and
right.
We appreciate that. The people there appreciate that, being able to get those meals there. And then you're also involved in the severe weather shelter. Is there anything that you want to talk about within the severe weather shelter, or anything else that you would like to add just in general?
Well, I would say cooking for the Alabama Street camp has been, I'm glad we're doing that. I think it's been very helpful trying to get, to get to where I'd kind of like to see us be with a hosted camp. But I think it helps to have people know that they're going to have a meal every day. And it's been an opportunity for me. Well, my family's been pretty involved in this. My daughter, of course, as I mentioned, but my sister and my niece also, although they don't volunteer with the organizations too much. They do a lot of cooking and donating and stuff for me. So when I have a huge meal, they all kind of pitch in and provide stuff. But also, it's given our little church an opportunity to help as well.
That's right.
In there, they aren't able to do a whole lot, but they are happy to be able to participate to some degree. The extreme weather shelter, I don't know. I enjoy it. I think it was different this year than it was before, and I think it was different in a better way. I like the facility better, but I hope to be, I hope there's going to be one again next year, and that I'll be able to continue to help provide. I think the thing I like about the shelter is you have more time with people. When you're just passing out a meal, you don't really have that time to visit and to sort of to kind of get to know people. And one of the most important things I think is when you can address a person by their name.
Yes.
When you get to actually get on a first name basis, if you will, with people, and they, to actually know them as people, not just as a client or as we call them at Food for Change, we call them our guests, but same difference, if you don't, it's not as personal as the shelter where you're actually helping, giving people food and a place to sit, and you play games with them and visit and help them write letters and, get ready their pets, and it's a good experience.
Yeah, and I get one of the biggest things that I get a kick out of, and that just warms my heart and everything that we're doing, is when people come and express to me that they didn't have any hope before, and then when they started working with our volunteers and at our shelter and with our staff, that gave them hope, and that they were able to, people care about me, and you remember my name. I mean, I've heard that one multiple
Yes.
times, seen people out in
Yeah.
the community and just address them by their first name. And there's that social normality and that connection that they may not always get. And so,
Exactly.
Melinda, thank you so much for being on. Thank you for just sharing with us and just opening up. It's amazing stuff that not only you, but your family and Food for Change and all the other volunteers are a part of. And, we just really appreciate you and everything you're doing. So
Oh, well, thank you, Chuck.
keep up the good work, and we'll get all those links down there so people can connect with Food for Change. They'll be able to connect with the severe weather shelter for upcoming trainings in the next couple months, and just moving forward with all that. So again, Melinda, thank you, and have a good day, okay?
Same to you. Thank you, Chuck. Bye-bye.
We want to say thank you. We want to say thank you to First Christian Church for stepping into the gap to generously offer your space when it was not a popular decision in the community, for being incredibly hospitable the whole winter through, for bringing alongside the members of your church to help us make shelter happen, and for showing us an incredible example of what leadership looks like in the church.
We also want to say thank you to Love Inc., who is our fiscal sponsor through this season of sheltering, for receiving donations and managing the finances on that side. And then also thank you to all of those individuals and congregations and organizations that donated all of the money and the time in preparing the space. We were just hugely blessed and so well supported by our community in this financial endeavor of doing shelter. And so we are so grateful to those of you who gave of what you had, shared it with us so that we could do the work.
We're just super grateful to all of our volunteers, and we couldn't have done this without the numerous people who were up in the wee hours of the night, those who were cooking meals, those who were cleaning. We are just blessed and blown away by the amount of people that were willing to give their time. And so thank you to all of you who stepped up and helped make this successful.
I want to offer a special thank you to those neighbors, those direct neighbors of our shelter space, particularly those of the Kids World Preschool and those neighbors who reside in the homes on the same block as First Christian. They really were a great presence and helped us be as successful as we could be with the shelter. And even some of them became volunteers at the shelter. And so I'm just eternally grateful for their trust that they put in us, cautious trust, but the trust that they put in us to let us live up to our billing. And I think that without their grace in that, I don't think we could have been as successful as we were.
Yeah, and I'd like to just say thank you to all the Love Overwhelming staff. You guys did an incredible job and were a huge part of the success of Shelter. Big thank you to them. Big thank you to our board of directors and to the community as a whole. I hope that throughout this time that people see that we all just we listened, we heard, and we wanted to be able to follow through with everything that was going on. And so we are just so thankful for a wonderful, successful shelter. And I'm looking forward to this year for Severe Weather Shelter, another successful year. So again, thank you to everyone, the cities, the county, everyone that got together with the funding, the volunteers. Thank you, everyone. I know there's people and organizations that we missed, but please know that we appreciate everything that you've done. Thank you.